Hello, everybody, and welcome to I'm going to say a Sunday night golf show again. I know these are probably going on a different playlist, but we're making a theme of this, going live every Sunday. We've got Josh back.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. So, big question we've got on for everybody tonight, and I want people to get in the comments right away on this. What is the best driver 2020? And we're going to go through the factors that make this up. So, is it just performance?
Yeah.
Is it looks?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like brand loyalty? Because that's a big thing. People want to have the same brand throughout the whole bag.
Yeah.
Or is it price? Or is it all these factors? What are the factors that basically help you decide a driver? I think this is really interesting because there's so much choice. If we just go through like the choice we've got this year, we've got the Cobra RAD speed, Taylormade SIM, Taylormade SIM. We've got Epic Speed, Titleist, Ping, Callaway, Big Bertha, B21, PXG. We've got Mizuno, Wilson.
There's loads, mate. Loads.
So much choice out there. Like, where do you start? Now, obviously, if you're watching in the UK right now, you can't go for a fitting. You can't do all this, but hopefully very soon we can.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, mate. Oh my God. I really hope so.
Going crazy.
From your point of view, though, as a club golfer, so somebody that would go for a fitting and somebody that would buy a driver, what would be the biggest factor for you? What one comes first out of those?
I mean, that's a good question because for me, price has got to be a big point, massive point because
expensive game, isn't it?
It's really expensive game, especially when you're looking up at the top end of like a PXG driver. That's a lot of cash to fork out. When you look at the bottom end and looking at a Cobra driver, the RAD speed at what's that, 350 quid around that price point.
Yeah.
Compared to the other brands like Taylormade, Titleist, you're getting a driver that's just as good, if not potentially better, if it fits you, if it suits you.
Okay, so I think. So if you go on that point, if you're going on that point and just price, are you saying that people are potentially going for the other brands because potentially a bit of brand snobbery or brand loyalty, potentially?
Potentially, yeah. I think I personally can't. Okay, a driver might suit your eye better.
Mm-hmm.
Completely understand that. But I personally can't see and don't think the margins that you will gain from having a 550 pound driver will be great enough to make me want to go and buy one. I think I perform just as well with a RAD speed.
That's really interesting. So, guys, get in those comments down below. We've got a few of them here. And hello, everybody, if you've just joined the chat now. Stephen Brown said hello. Carla said hello. Beginner Golfer said hello. Craig Sharp said hello. And Neil's put here, he's gaming the TSi 3. I'm guessing that the D3 model. Now, TSi 2 are the latest driver, and they're retailing like maybe not street price, but around the 499 mark, originally at 529. Now that's a very expensive club, Now, when I was a junior golfer, Titleist was like known as like that players brand. So, by the way, Neil, I'm not saying you bought it on these grounds. Are people then buying this to basically show other people that they've got the latest driver, but in the Titleist to show that they're a better player?
This is the thing. Yeah, I agree with you. When I was sort of growing up playing golf, the players had Titleist, whether it be irons or drivers or whatever. But I think that has changed now. I think you look at the players on tour, you look at the tour as a whole, there's a lot more players gaming Taylormade, Callaway, Cobra than I think anyway than there is gaming a Titleist driver. And we spoke about this on the pod where we said about how they don't necessarily bring one out every year, and they don't necessarily because they don't think they can change the tech in it as much. Where you look at like Cobra and everyone else is churning them out. And I think that everyone else was sort of caught up a bit in that sense, the other brands.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think Steve Brown's made a great point here. There's very little difference in performance perspective on the modern drivers, and he agrees with you, Josh. Price point has pushed him the way of Cobra. Big brands sell based upon reputation and player loyalty. I think that's a really, really, really big factor. Reputation, loyalty. You're going to have people, especially I think going down the ping routes. We're going to discuss all these drivers. And guys, if you're listening right now, do get involved in these comments. We want to hear exactly what you think on this debate. It's a big one. So you're basically on like Ping is ultimately like a brand. I think of Ping and Titleist probably fall into that sort of big loyalty banner. Like Ping's a very old brand. Carsten Ping started up with putters, and now it's being known as the first really ones of custom fitting. People will, if they start using Ping, they don't tend to go away from Ping. And I think Titleist as well very much sees the same. Like I know a few people that didn't turn pro, but play golf now. They've always used Titleist irons. They've always used Titleist clubs, and they probably don't see themselves going away from that. And I think they're sort of resting on those laurels, whereas I think the modern day golfer now, it's a massive thing is about price point. You think of membership now, massive thing of joining anywhere is on price point. So it's got to filter down into the clubs as well, for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's get onto this first driver, Josh, here. So we're going to start with the PXG. So we're going PXG just purely because as we all know, it's one of the most expensive drivers on the market, up there of £500 and probably more once you've spec'd yourself up, probably more £800. What's your initial thoughts on that? Like PXG as a brand, like they're known as, I'm basically saying like the Aston Martin, the McLaren of the golf world. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like we've spoke about this again previously on the podcast, and I don't understand it. I don't understand the concept of it. I don't understand why, unless for me, I ain't got that kind of money to go and splash on a full set of PXGs.
I mean, you're talking like £6,000 for a full set, by the way. Like something around that.
They are aiming at a very, very small, potentially bracket of players, especially in the game today where you've got more and more people joining and playing the game. They're focusing on like the upper echelon of players, let's say, cash-wise.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like you said, I'm looking at, when I joined North London, I'm looking at a golf club based on price. A, it's a great course. B, I'm looking at price there. So it's a good value for money. Mm-hmm. You don't get that with PXG.
No.
And is that extra 200, 300, 400 quid that I'm going to spend? Something is more.
A better golfer.
Exactly.
Interesting, guys. So interesting comment. So what do you think on that? Do you think spending more money in a club, for example, PXG, will make you a better golfer? Carlos made a great point here. I agree with this to some extent. So I think with the new drivers, it's like getting a new phone. Every year it's new, but from one to the other, it's not a massive noticeable change. Well, yeah, I think if you went from, say, for example, in Cobra SZ to RAD, there's probably not too much change, change between performance. You're not going to see a drastic difference, in my opinion.
No.
If you were going from like 2 or 3 years ago, then potentially, because as we know, shaft technology moves on, face technology moves on, and all these drivers seem to be about at the minute because they can only make the face as fast as they can. We all know that. Like it can only come off 0.834, I think 0.0834 speed off the face. It's all about losing weight. It's all about making it lighter.
Yeah.
More about being more forgiveness and getting those off-center hits going a little bit further.
Yeah.
So if you went from 2 or 3 years ago to now, I think you would see a noticeable change in performance. Definitely.
Yeah. I think if you're going from F8, F9 and you jump to the RAD speed, there'd be a big difference. Big difference, 100%. Definitely.
Back to PXG here, Josh. Steve Brown said PXG has dropped the price of the driver this year. Maybe they've literally were outside of the market. Maybe they couldn't do that.
Yeah. And like, it's not like they have, or I don't think they do, have a massive foothold on tour. So I don't know why they almost
cash over left to the big players.
Yeah, but you look at your top 10. How many of them play PXG?
Do you know what's the crazy thing is about this, Josh? I couldn't name you one.
That's
I
the
literally
thing.
couldn't name you one. I could name you Rory, Taylormade. It's actually a funny point how they've not got any of the top 5, or to my knowledge, or even if they have got any of the top 5, I don't know about it.
Exactly. And so what I don't understand is why are they valuing their product at what they're valuing it at when none of the best players in the world play it. Yeah. Where you look at that top 10, it's full of Taylormade, Callaway, and Cobra, along with you got, I think, is Hatton's Ping, isn't he?
He's Ping, yeah.
Hatton's Ping.
He'll play Ping throughout his whole career, I'd say.
Yeah. But it's layered with them, but you don't know about the PXG, and it's I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
It's a strange one, isn't it? It's a strange one. And let's, before we move on to the next driver, guys, and Josh, you as well, let's go with what people's first ever driver was. What was your first ever driver? I think it's a really interesting point. So my first driver, I think it was a Callaway Big Bertha ladies driver. That was my first driver, and I thought I was done with it. It was almost like a brownie colored shaft and a gold head. But honestly, if I look at it now, it's tiny. Yeah. It's like some people are probably watching this going, Alex, like it wasn't tiny. That was pretty big. That was a really big club. So that was a really big club on there. So if you can really feel as though it's a big difference from obviously something like then and what did you guys play? It'd be interesting to know. Josh, what was your first driver?
So outside of the first package set that I got, the first driver that I ever bought was a Sevi Icon. White.
Is it bad that I never heard of that?
MD, Sevi Icon, white shaft, pure. Absolutely pure. It was good until
I'm nodding like I know what you're on about, but I have no idea.
It was good until I could swing it too quick, and it just used to balloon then because it was only a regular shaft. So, but yeah, that was my first one.
So we've got a few people coming in here. Big Bertha 2 for Neil. Classic. Again, like I think there's a lot of people. Isn't it funny? You see sort of like brands go through like peaks and troughs through the years. Taylormade has been riding high, then Callaway was riding high, now Cobra's riding high. But what you see is a lot more. I'd say in the past, there's probably been a brand that's really stuck out as like the number one. Whereas now it's probably like they're all very, very similar. Well, I guess market share wise, you're looking like Taylormade has got to be sort of probably one of the biggest out there.
I'd say probably looking Taylormade, then potentially Callaway, then Cobra.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing though. Cobra are changing the game through the players that they have using their clubs.
So who do you think Cobra appeals to then? Let's go to the rad speed. Who do you think a Cobra driver appeals to? Because it's a different price point. It's cheaper than a lot of drivers. So if you're new to the game, you could get a lot of performance. It's an interesting thing. But before Cobra, we're going to bring in the same conversation. We've got the likes of Mizuno, a slightly cheaper driver than most. We've also got, where is it gone here? We've got Strixon, slightly cheaper driver than most. And we've also got Bridgestone. They've also bought drivers out that are slightly cheaper than the rest. Now, on that point, do you think these other brands are just underrated, or the other brands have just got too big for their boots? This is an interesting one, isn't it, really?
See, I don't know if they're underrated, but I just think the way that the other brands have marketed their equipment has sort of set them apart.
Yeah, but is that because they just got the most money? So you're saying potentially that they're the biggest, like in anything, like any walk of life, footy or whatever. Yeah. You've got the most money. You're going to be the biggest boy on the block or the biggest girl on the block in terms of brand awareness, in terms of how many people have got your driver.
Yeah, well, you could put that down to that 100%. Excuse me, because you look at the players that each of them have got, and that's the way I look at it. So we said about the top 10, but you've got Fleetwood, DJ, Tiger, Rory, all using the Taylormade. You've got Bryson up there using the RAD speed, but that's a whole different conversation. You've got Rahm using Callaway. You've got Mickelson using Callaway. And it's the players that will drive those sales. Taylormade are doing so well because their players are doing so well. So I imagine their drivers fly out. Same with, but then Cobra doing it differently is Bryson's changing the game. People want a bit of that. People want to hit it a mile. they associate that with that driver.
Yeah.
So they're sort of doing it that way, and they're cheaper. So if you look at those top 3 drivers, the one I would go for would be the Rad Speed, because I know I'm getting a premium driver compared to the other 2, and it's going to give me just as good performance.
So I've got 2 questions here. I want to answer this one. So Neil Taylor's put here, Mizuno and Strixon might as well not bother producing drivers. They don't advertise them enough. Exactly. I don't have a big enough standing on tour to attract most amateur golfers. Neil, I completely agree on that, because
so do I, Neil.
Mizuno and Strixon. Mizuno's basically known for the purest irons, as in proper nice forged irons, especially those gold ones, absolutely pure. Strixon is known for their own Cleveland as well, so Cleveland wedges and Strixon irons. These brands almost should say, right, okay, we're not going to get involved with all these big boys. We're going to make the best thing of what we can. But do you think, because going back to this whole brand loyalty thing, they got to make a driver so there's that almost someone can game the whole bag?
So you can have a full set. I guess so. I guess that would be why they do it, because Neil's right in what he says, that they're just not, they don't push it enough. You look at the Mizuno irons and they are unreal. They look fantastic. Like you said, those gold ones are so pure. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you one thing about that driver. Couldn't tell you one thing. I don't even know what color it is.
And silver.
Well, there you go. Do you know what I mean? But I could tell you what the sim looks like. I could tell you what the Callaway looks like. I could tell you who plays it. I could tell you the same about the Rad Speed. I could even tell you the colorways that they have in the Rad Speed. Do you know what I mean? They just don't have that.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, my next question on this point, and someone's raised this before. So John O'Mara said, plenty of decent drivers, 2 to 3 year olds, secondhand with great technology. So, Josh.
Yes.
Here's a question, and I think this is really interesting. And this goes out to everybody, not just Josh. If you're listening right now, get in those comments and answer this. Would you ever buy a driver secondhand? So I'm picturing the best time to buy a secondhand driver is driver launch is usually like January, February time, or maybe just before Christmas. The best time to buy a secondhand driver is probably the start of the season, where people have tried them, probably not liked it, it's not suited their game, not suited their swing. That would be probably the best time to buy it. Would you consider ever buying a secondhand driver from that current year? So, for example, buying a Rad Speed secondhand, or buying a Callaway secondhand, or buying the Ping secondhand, or buying even a PXG secondhand. What would you feel about that? And that goes out to everybody, by the way. So get in those comments on that point.
That is a very, very good question, because the driver I have now is a secondhand driver, but it's from a few years ago. To do it on getting a Rad Speed secondhand, it depends on a couple of things. A, if it would suit me, has it got the right stiff shaft? But then you're not going to really know that unless you know what you need.
Yeah, and it might be hard to get what you need. But I guess what you could do is, if you're saving money, if you're already a Cobra player, for example, and you've got a shaft in your current driver, you could just take that out. So imagining you're saying there's a few stumbling blocks there. Getting the right head, the right shaft, and basically if you're not changing brand, you wouldn't have that flexibility in terms of head. Yeah.
The other thing I would say as well is I would look at how much they would want for it, because let's say hypothetically, I think it is 359 or something for the Rad Speed. If they're gonna say, oh well, I'll give it you for 320, I'd probably just go and get a new one, because I don't know how often that's been hit. For the sake of an extra 30 quid. But
it won't be 30 quid. It'll be quite a bit cheaper, It'll probably be over £100 cheaper, a second-hand one.
You think? Well, so what you tend to see, obviously, is when the Rad Speed comes out, the SZ drops by 100 quid or around that. Same when the SE came out, the F9 did. Yeah. So you think if you bought a Rad Speed, hit it a couple of times, didn't like it?
Well, maybe not a couple of times. I'm saying you had a few rounds of it. You've given it. Okay. You've had it for 6 months. So you've had it since January. You're selling it in April, May, June. That sort of time, mid-season. Yeah. I would say, it's got to jump by 100 quid. You're buying a second-hand product, but then that whole point goes back to, why don't you just buy a brand new SZ, or why don't you buy a brand new last year's driver? It's an interesting point. I think I just don't know what I would do. Obviously, thankfully, I'm fortunate enough to get supplied equipment, but if I was buying the equipment, I really wouldn't know what I'd do. I would definitely, my priorities would be value for money and performance. They would sit highest on my priority list, because if you're playing once, twice a week, it's a lot of money to justify Justify it.
It is. It is a lot of money, and again, it depends on as well the route you want to go down with regards to your bag. So, me, for example, my bag. Someone who loves having a bag that's all the same would hate my bag because my bag's all over the place. I've got Rife irons, I've got an M6 wood, and I've got an F9 driver.
All over the place. And no brand loyalty at all.
But, well, if Cobra wants to supply the clubs, I'm more than happy to do that. But, so it depends what you want to go down, because if you want, I've got Cobra irons, I want Cobra driver, I want Cobra woods, then I think if you don't want to spend $350, look at last year's. That's the smartest thing to do, because the gap between the two is probably very minimal. If you're looking at F9 and Rad speed, that's when you're going to get the bigger gap.
Yeah, I agree. So next question we've got for you, and this is again to everybody, about the Epic Speed driver Callaway. And we're going to talk about Taylormade SIM 2 Max. Initial thoughts on them two. What do you like? Do you like the look of them? Do you not? What's your feeling on them? Now, I've not hit a Taylormade driver since, well, I have hit one. That's a complete lie. I've not gamed one since the M1. That's the last Taylormade driver that I have gamed. That feels like such a long time ago now. I remember, do you know what's an interesting story from when I was caddying on tour? I remember Tom trying, I think it was a Taylormade driver, because he was supported by Taylormade for his woods. And maybe it was when the M2 first came out. It was amazing how much gear they brought onto the range to try and get as many people gaming that club. And me and Josh had Chris Hansen on the pod a few days ago now, and you can go and listen to that now on Apple and on Spotify. And he was saying he noticed this period of where Taylormade were all about get it in everybody's hands. Everybody must game that club. Everybody's got to use Taylormade. And this is talking on tour. Whereas now it's sort of reined back. They don't pay everybody. They've just gone for like the jugular. They've gone for that top end of player.
The creme de la creme, haven't they? They've gone to the top.
But you can see that because everybody knows who's using it now. Whereas you walk onto the range, remember when I was walking onto the range, you could probably count more people that weren't gaming either Callaway or Taylormade than the people that were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was so obvious. The whole range was like littered with it.
Like throwing it out. And that's where I think Taylormade especially have absolutely smashed their marketing. Because, okay, it's great having the club in as many players' hands as possible, but why, if they can have it in the top 5 players' hands, that's it surely better, because A, they're on TV more, B, they're winning or finishing up there. So people look at it and think, oh my God, Dustin Johnson's won 3 times. He won the Masters. He's done this. He's done that. It looks better for the brand.
Yeah.
On the look of the driver, it's grown on me. I didn't like it to start with, but I think it looks so good.
Yeah. And
I would love to hit one. Like, the only Taylormade driver I've ever hit is an M2.
Yeah.
And that's a good driver. Like that, I hit that well, and it was really nice, but it wasn't mine. So, but I think they've smashed it. Taylormade have seriously smashed it with the way they've gone about things. Even to the point of the YouTube channel that they've got, and the things that they do with the players.
Trotty golf, isn't it? He does a class thing like behind the scenes, how he makes golf clubs. Honestly, it's probably some of the best content that I would actually. It might sound strange, but I don't watch that much golf on YouTube. But I actually would watch that. That is class. That in-depth, that behind the scenes, that look at how clubs are built. It's sick. Like, we're all, at the end of the day, we're all absolute golf pervs, and we all absolutely love golf tech.
100%. But even to the point of where they have the players, the 10 players that they have, like down to Matt Wolf and Morikawa and Tiger and all them, they even have them doing challenges. And it's like, I will sit and watch a 20-minute video of Rory Tiger just levering a 3-wood. Can you curve it left? Can you curve it right? Can you play a cut? Can you do this? And they've just smashed it. They really have. And that's why I think they do so well, and they will continue to do so well, because they're not just throwing it at everyone now. They're picking the creme de la creme of players and they're working with them. Yeah.
Okay. This is one of the last few questions, guys, and then we'll open the floor up to you guys. What gets me is this. So you've got Callaway that have jailbreak technology. You have Taylormade that have like an injected face. You've got Callaway who also have this like 3D printed face. You've got Then Cobra, who have a milled face. You then have Ping, who have just what I kind of class as a standard sort of Ping face. And again with Titleist. Why is this is what baffles me. There's so much research that goes in each year. How can the technology behind each of these drivers be so different, but perform the same or very similar? Because if you look at all the top brand and top echelon brands, they all perform the best. They all perform the same. Like one will suit you more than the other, which is why you'll hit one better. Why isn't there like someone going, obviously there's probably patents and all this kind of thing. Surely there's a way of harnessing all of these to make a better driver. And I almost feel like brands sometimes hold stuff back in order to create longevity within themselves. Now, I appreciate there can't be a driver that has all singing, all dancing, everything. But guys, what is your opinion on that? Do you feel like sometimes they're only doing a little bit to the driver each year or changing it up just to sort of suit the marketing ploy? It's an interesting one. I really find it an interesting topic, this, because there's so many permutations to what makes a good driver: price point, looks, feel, brand loyalty. And I always feel like sometimes, like, well, surely if you kept this, didn't do that, added this all together, you'd probably have a driver that was the best.
See, I get that. And I think that, yes, they could, like, Taylormade could definitely have the Sim 2 now for a couple of years and then bring out a driver that's unbelievable.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, like, you look at Cobra, right? They've got the milled face.
Yeah.
Why did Taylormade not follow the same suit, but it performs the best? Surely, like, if they tested all these things, they would make it, I don't know, almost like a, what do you call it? Jekyll and Hyde. No.
What?
Like a bionic version of everything.
I mean, yeah, and just have a Sim 2 body with a mill face, and I know what you mean, but
why?
Then they focus on what makes them and what is their brand, don't they?
It's true. It's just I'm just thinking, if like this, like, why is there not somebody that's trying to do a version of all these things in one driver?
Maybe there's a business plan there. Maybe just go and make your own driver.
I don't think I've got a billions to set this up.
But it's a very good point. Like, I don't know why. It's got to be down to, like you said, patents and whatever you want to call them. And it's the other thing is, if Taylormade went and did that, why would I don't personally think that the driver would necessarily be better just because it's got a mill face that.
No, I'm not saying it wouldn't.
And that's the thing.
It's just interesting.
That's why I think that they just sort of stay in their own lane and be like, no, this is what we're developing. We're going down this route. Let them go that way. We'll go this way. And I think that it's obviously good for the game having more than one driver. But I don't know. It's a good question though. It's a good question.
Okay. So guys, get in these comments down below if you've got any questions for us. Next 10 minutes, we're going to spend talking to you guys. But we also want to make you aware of a giveaway that we've got coming up. And we'll tell you all about this at the end of this video. So do stick around. We have one. It's like goodies there, isn't it? Pull out the app.
Isn't it?
3, 6 grips to give away. Now, not only 6 grips to give away, but also within these 6 grips, you actually win a chance to basically obviously now in COVID, but be part of a live stream where you 6 would sit on and be with Vaughn, who is the master behind this, and almost get a tutorial of how best to use it.
Yeah. And because this is the thing with these grips, guys, they're not just a grip, it's a system. It's about the whole system to improve your putting. Exactly. And it's serious. It is seriously good. So
stick around to the end of the video. Well, in the next 10 minutes, after we've answered all your questions, we'll tell you exactly how you can get your hands on one of these, as well as being part of that exclusive tutorial with Vaughn himself, master behind BGM and the Kataki grip. Is that the right way of saying it, Josh?
Kataki, yeah, well done, mate.
Thanks, mate. So if you could be with any brand and be set up with a set of golf clubs, if you're a tour player, this is right. Okay, put yourself in a tour player's perspective. Would you be a golfer who would be exclusively a 14 club deal, and obviously pay the big bucks? We're talking if you were a top 10 player. Or would you be a player like your Brooks Koepka, like Fleetwood was, who aren't sort of with any brand at all? They just use what's good for their game.
Oh God,
it's a big question, isn't it?
That is a big question, because this is the thing. I like the Cobra clubs. I do. I like the Cobra driver, especially. The rad speed is so sick. But those P790 irons or P770 irons from Taylormade just look unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not good enough to hit the Ricky Fowler blades, so I won't be having them in the bag. So I would probably go down the free agent route.
Yeah.
But
it's an interesting one.
It depends how much money they want to throw at you. That's the other thing.
Exactly. But if I go back to, remember when I was caddying, and the story was about all these guys who got their card at tour school, and they then go on to tour, and they all sign these club deals, potentially with clubs that they don't or haven't used before, and their game goes to pot because they've not used these clubs, don't trust these clubs. I think you've almost, if you're at that level, you've got to trust what you've got and just go with it. Let's just got a few questions here. Andy's actually asked, Alex, how's your game coming along for the road to the Open? Andy, my answer to that question is I've had a golf lesson. I've been working on it at home. There will be a video out this week actually coming about my lesson. And I have it with a YouTube golf coach. Yes. So I'm not going to tell you who it is. You have to watch the video. It's going to be coming out on, I'm going to say Friday, roughly around then. So that's going to be it's a good video. You're going to see my swing get absolutely torn apart.
Yeah, it needed some work.
Wow, cheers. And then Stuart's now asked a question on the grip. Would it work on a toe hang putter? And other people that are using Scotty Cameron. So there are different thicknesses. Now, Josh gamed a thicker one. I gamed a thinner one. So yeah, if you've got a Scotty Cameron, you're worried about going too thick. You don't have to go fully thick. You could go a little bit thinner, like I have. I don't think it would really depend. It wouldn't. Well, some people always say if you've got a Scotty Cameron, you've got a blade putter, don't go and shove a big thick grip on it. You're going to see if you are lucky enough to win this grip, and you enter it anyway. We're going to tell you how you can enter it anyway, because you could enter this and really change your game. You can be part of the tutorial, part of this exclusive tutorial, and you don't have to put it on your grip. Listen and see if it can change your mind on it, because it's interesting. Really is interesting how take your hands out of it. I'm not going to go on about it much more, but it's an interesting point. So guys, if you've got any more questions for us, please do fire them in. Craig's put here actually, Josh, mixed bag of whatever works. Everyone has a price. It's very, very true. And
that's
clearly,
the thing.
I was going to say Fleetwood's had a price, but they've obviously money that he can't say no.
Yeah. Like, it's one of them where, obviously, I guess for Tommy Fleetwood, it probably doesn't really matter.
No.
He's probably earned that much money. But if you walk onto the European Tour, your year 1, year 2, and Taylormade turn around to you and go, oh, we'll give you 50 grand for the year to play our clubs, I'm probably not going to say no.
How can you say no? It pays for your year. You're spending 2 or 3 grand a week.
Exactly. So it's a tricky one, though, because if you're going to say no to them, you're basically backing yourself. Big time backing yourself.
That's what you got to do. Golf's a game.
You have, yeah. You have, you're right. You have. But I'm leaning towards the Cobra. So if anyone's listening.
At the lower level of golf, like, you don't see many people playing Cobra. You only see it right at the top.
But I think that's strange, though, because of the price point of things. So to be fair, at the golf club, I've seen more of the drivers knocking about.
I've seen loads of people use it. I've seen loads of people. So I've got Stephen Brown had a question here. Has your game improved from using 1-length irons, or would you go back to standing length if you had the chance? So Stephen, just to let you know, 100%. My golf game is improved. I wouldn't say I hit it better than I did. I just hit it better more often. And I'm talking in terms of the fact that I don't practice that much, or up until my road to the Open, I didn't practice that much. But I still felt like I could play. I felt like I was swinging a similar iron, and I don't know. I got them in my hand, and I felt like I knew what I was doing with the club straight away. There was sort of like a familiarity, and I sort of can't really describe what that is. But the other part of this question, would I go back to standing length irons? Well, the question is, Steve, I'm going to be having a fitting when we can, hopefully, obviously, within the next month or two. we're back out on the golf course and we can play with one other person and we can have a fitting. And obviously, as if COVID allows and all these other points, I will be testing clubs that aren't one length, just to see if it's any better this year, just to see if what happens. I might pick them up and go, what the hell is that? Yeah. But I do have my eyes on some blades, but I don't know if I'm good enough to.
Oh, it's a big change. This is the thing, though, and we spoke about this the other day about blades and muscle backs and all that. From a club golfer point of view, like having hit your one length, so I don't have one length clubs, I have standard clubs, and then hitting Alex's
variable length's the word you're looking for, Josh. Variable.
Variable. I apologize. Having hit Alex's one length, I can definitely see the benefit of them. So obviously we've been doing a few videos and I've hit Alex's clubs a few times, and I'm starting to get used to them. I've not been hitting my clubs, and it's definitely easier. Not in the sense of because it's a better club, but because of you are more consistent in your setup.
Yeah. So here's one. Stuart said this question: would you prefer one length in 3, 4, and 5 irons and standard in the rest? Now, Stuart, I actually asked this question when I was getting fitted. I said to the guys, like, well, once if I like to go like shorter towards the bottom end of the bag, but then keep them all sort of the same length at the top end of the bag. And they were like, well, yeah, you could do that, but nobody has done that, because you got to think, if all your clubs, now the thing I'd say is, because the clubs are longer, you probably hit your shorter irons longer, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if you had a 3, 4, and 5 iron that were all 7 iron length, but then you had a 6 iron that was 6 iron length, you might find that your 6 iron and 5 iron sort of probably go the same length, because you got to think, what affects the distance? Obviously, loft has a big thing, strike is a big thing, but also the length of shaft. So I would say it wouldn't be something that I would do. I did ask the question. It did cross my mind, and it's a very good question. So let's get back to these. Let's talk about how you can have a chance to win these grips. So we've got 6 here. 6 of you guys can win these. So in order to win, firstly, smash that big like button on here. Also, head over to my Instagram, because we're going to run it on there as well. So ultimately, what you got to do is share this video, like this video, and also comment down below or tag 3 friends in this video, because we want to give you a chance to win these grips. Be part of this, try them out, be part of the tutorial with Vaughn. So let me get that simple. I've just sort of waffled that out there. I just said, yeah, do this, do that. So like this video, make sure you're subscribing, and also that's it. Yeah, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe to have a chance to win these grips. Remember, 6 of you have a chance to win. And the winner will be announced this time next week, next Sunday. Get your hands on one of these.
Yeah, and they are like, and this is the thing we need to not get away from in this. It's not just a grip. It's a system. And you get an expert, like, front row explanation of that system.
Me and Josh have been part of it, and not part of the journey, but we've seen it, and it's a joke.
And we've gone whole hog with it as well, put them on our gaming putters. Yeah. So we're 2 foot in this, going full steam ahead. So
red card,
it's definitely something to be involved in. What do you say?
Red card if you're 2 foot.
It's definitely something to get involved in, though. Definitely.
Yeah. So, guys, make sure you do that to enter. Also, for an extra entry, head over to my Instagram. There will be a post up tomorrow for an extra entry on how to do this if you are on Instagram. If you're not, don't worry. You still have a chance to win and chance to enter. Guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Thanks to Josh as well. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this chat around golf clubs, the best driver of 2021. So to finish us off, Josh, and everybody as well, smash those comments down below. What is the best driver of 2021? 3, 2, 1, go.
Rad speed.
What are you going with, everybody? Get in those comments down below. It's an interesting topic, I think, because there's just so much choice. I'm going to say one thing to you. If you're going for a driver fitting this year, wherever you are in the world, go there with an open mind. Don't go there trying to pinpoint down one brand. I mean, people are like, oh, you're supported by Cobra. I am, but I want you guys to be the best golfer you can be. So in order to be the best golfer you can be, narrow yourself down. Don't narrow yourself down. Go there with an open mind. Try all the clubs and then choose from there. Thanks so much, guys. If you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Josh, question.
Last thing, if you're going for a fitting, don't worry about the numbers.
Yes, it's a very good
That
point.
is a big thing because you start worrying about the numbers, you ain't in that club properly.
Oh, mate.
Don't worry about the numbers.
You can dissolve.
Yeah.
No,
don't even need that.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, John. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Carlo. Thank you to everybody. We'll be live next Sunday night. And obviously, we have tips coming every single day. And I've seen a lot of people been asking about the podcast. The podcast is called How to Ruin a Good Walk. I think we can all relate to that. I've done it a few times. I know Josh has, and I know you all have. Stay safe, everybody, and see you very soon.
See you guys.